Yes. Welcome, viewers. This is What Did You? What did you say? What did you do? What did you think? Bringing you another commentary video here about the game Spacelords and its progression system and the other system that they have kind of unique to the game, their Aequilibrium scale. These are two pretty important parts, and as part of the third series to my commentary little segment here about Spacelords on just important parts to highlight. Again, other broadcasters have made videos about these points, which are very good, very comprehensive. At the same time, some of these things have been sort of updated. Various different points are kind of spread out amongst videos and blogs and the community webpage. And so this is my sort of attempt to try to consolidate the point, about progression in the game and the equilibrium. So to the point here, progression in the game is a definite grind. They offer XP boost to help you do that as rewards and missions if you're playing with a team of some sort, which means you have to group up with someone in order to do that prior to engaging in the match. Just randomly matching with other players is not enough. You actually have to group prior to the point. Um, and of course you can play to win in regard, or play for your XP in regard to these XP boosts that you can purchase with gold. You can use your own in-game earnings to grab to purchase them. Excuse me. Or you can go ahead and use. Oops. Sorry, didn't mean to click. Apologize. Didn't mean to click on that. You can also purchase the. Yeah, like I said again, I apologize for clicking on that. There, you can purchase with your Mercury points with real money for in-game gold, which you can use the Mercury points to convert to gold and then purchase more XP boost whenever you like. XP is rewarded fairly decently from the missions as well. That's the only way to sort of increase your XP as far as your leveling is concerned. From 0 to whenever you stop. As far as I understand, there's no maximum cap to the progression or leveling of the game. But the thing is that at the moment, your current maximum forward skill level is at, forward skill 20, which you would reach at level 199. The other benefit to leveling and progressing is, adding these various different passive skills to all of your characters, regardless of which one you choose. But as you level, you will slowly build up more armor resistance, more armor, excuse me, which gives you damage resistance against player shots, and then you have resistance against all enemy strikes, and then you also to gain more brute force in your melee attacks up to 100%. These things don't cap out till your early 190s. Mid 190, I believe, is something like that, where you cap these all out. So, really you're not going to be as effective as you can be towards the game until you reach level 200, because that's also the final step at the moment to unlocking all of your character cards, as you just saw unlocked there when I clicked into Herrick's cards. These last couple unlocked at level 200 for me. I hadn't clicked in here since then. So, to get a fair assessment as to how capable you can be in a constant environment of being handicapped, because you're constant in this game with Spacelords. The better you do, the more difficult it becomes based on your MMR, which is I'm going to reserve that for my last video to talk about. But yeah, because your MMR is part of your progress because it does relate to how difficult the game will be and can inhibit your progress because of failure simply because the game is too difficult. But the real topic of MMR and difficulty kind of is best reserved for its own video. Um, just understand that, you know, as you progress, you won't know just how effective you can be with how the game constantly leaves you in a deficit. Uh, you're constantly handicapped to the environment. It's your enemies, the boss fights. Everything's going to be more capable than you are, or just as capable. Um, and will outnumber you. No one raider can really do it on their own. And the solo modes of the game, which are open to you once you, again, through progression, as you unlock each one of these missions, and you actually have to have a certain rank for each mission that you unlock, regardless of whether you've completed or not. You do need to complete each mission 5 times in order to open up a solo engagement for it. In which case you can they call it training solo, in which case you can play the game on different difficulties that you might want to choose for yourself. And you can gain gold with them based on the difficulty that you set. But again, you have to beat these things 5 times in order to unlock enough badges, as they call them, to play this, solo. What's nice is that you don't have to continue to unlock it 5 times in order to play it again solo. Once you unlock it, by winning each mission 5 times, you can play it solo as much as you want. You don't have to you don't have to do the requirement again. Um, so in progressing through the game, like I said, you're not going to really know just how effective you can be until you reach level 200, unlock all your cards, and probably even still then there'll be some time in leveling to get enough affinity points. And to be honest with you, you want to be super smart and super frugal. Don't spend anything on any affinity point, any faction points on any of the cards until you get to level 200. Then you can roll to your heart's content to get what you might want, unless you see a rare card and that's going to be what you want, and you've looked ahead and you're like, well, I'm not really interested in the rest of them, but what seems to be available to me I really want. So say you want this card here, and say you want this card here, which are probably open to you when you first start playing a game. Well, then, yeah, go ahead and unlock with your faction points each one of these card things here. So, you actually have to use, 1,200 faction points to unlock each one of these here. And once you unlock them, then you can shuffle the cards, okay, for 4,800 faction points. So, you go ahead and unlock them all, and then, go ahead and shuffle to get what you want, because your odds will be more in your favor the fewer cards you have to roll for. So, but at the same time, your better cards aren't unlocked until you get to your higher rankings, your higher level, excuse me. And you also, too, an element of their progression system is your tier. As you see on the bottom there, it says I'm my current tier 1. You start out at current tier 0, progress to current, it's tier 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then tier 1 at basically level 100. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, they've done away with being able to see everybody's current level when you're in a match, because people would typically quit the game or quit out because, they knew that if a person was over level 200, they had all of their perks, as well as access to all their cards, and more than likely had, and of course have access to the highest forward skill to build all their weapons. But again, I would suggest waiting to you get to level 200 and all your cards are unlocked for all your characters, whichever characters you're playing. Roll for what you'd like to get. Also, to wait until you get to forward skill 20, to build your weapons. All characters start out with a weapon which is pretty sufficient for the most part for the difficulty that you're probably able to handle based on your skill set, as well as how durable your character is and what cards you may have available to enhance yourself as best you can. And again, you want to play to your weaknesses to enhance your strengths. But again, waiting would be your best bet, because in progressing through the game, trying to obtain blueprints is very, very painful, simply because there's always a chance at every stage of you getting it, and always something standing in your way, even a chance of whether or not an antagonist is going to join the mission or not. Everything's always a chance to try to stay in your way of accomplishment, unfortunately. Um, and once you get to a certain level in a game, you'll have to run various different missions 3 times in a row in order to get these rare blueprints or these rare versions for these weapons. And chances of winning each time 3 times in a row, that there's not going to be an antagonist there, or the antagonist isn't trying to win to get the match, is it, it's a lot, and if you have a team, that's your better chances of the situation. But then again, it may even be more difficult the more proficient your individuals are, unless they are trying to keep a certain MMR balance, uh, by keeping by losing various different matches as an antagonist. There are some people who orchestrate various different group parties where a person will volunteer to be antagonist, and they'll queue up for the same mission at the same time to try to have 4 people in a party that know each other as well as the antagonists know each other, and that way they can orchestrate the match however they wish. Um, but to do that 3 times in a row, like I said, it's a tough thing to make sure the odds are always there for you. And in the process of progressing through the game, realize that when you start a match, it's not always advisable to just quit out, because there are penalties for quitting out of a match, even when you're at the character selection screen, beginning at 5 minutes of not being able to play the game to I don't know what. But nonetheless, though, that can inhibit your progress greatly too. But I would say that on an average, if you are making a serious grind and had the time every single day to give to it, you could probably advance without boosters about 5 levels a day. And with boosters more, with groups even more. It just depends on how well you're able to do, how fast you're able to match make, um, and whether you have issues matchmaking or connecting, because this is peer to peer. It's not, they don't have dedicated servers, and sometimes you can have lag that is absolutely horrible, which will severely sabotage your situation. And realize too, if you get disconnected from match for any particular reason, whether it's your fault or not, you will still incur a penalty, which will inhibit your progress. But to the point of your progress and maintaining the best maximum to gaining progress, along with having your XP boosters, is maintaining your equilibrium. Your equilibrium is separate from your MMR, so do not ever confuse the two. Your equilibrium has to do with how much you've decided to play as a raider or a antagonist. Um, Here they give you a basic understanding of what the equilibrium is and how it associates to the Aleph, which is a very key component to the mythos and storyline and actual gameplay. You acquire Aleph from various different enemy types as well as other players. But nevertheless, though, in Aleph it seems to be um, an energy material that is mined out of this particular planet, this broken planet that is in this game. But this says here, Aleph balance is essential to life on the broken planet. Your decisions and those of other players near you or with affinity to you, your group, influence this balance. As you play and level up as a raider or antagonist, you tilt the balance of the group in one direction or another. The best balance is in the midpoint between the raiders and antagonists. The closer you get to it, the better the experience bonus you'll receive for all members of the group. So that's a real basic outline description of what's going on, but tells you very little about how it's affected what other factors can affect it. Just hear me out here. So, bottom line is that, um, the information for this is out there. It's just that you have to sort of consolidate it from all the various different sources. So, looking at where you have your Aequilibrium um, scale, under Space Guild, and then you click on this here, which says Aequilibrium, participate with other players in Aequilibrium wars to obtain experience modifiers. Experience modifiers is just XP. So, bottom line here, if you are dead center in the middle of this, you will receive 40% XP bonus. The further you travel along the scale, the less XP bonus you make in either direction, up to a minimum of 0%. As you level up, not just playing, you actually actively have to level. Not earning XP, not just having a game on. You're like, I need to actively turn from 207 to 208, level 208, in order for this scale to be adjusted. And you can hover over this here, which will let you know about your progress, and it will explain to you how much XP you need to earn to move to your next level, as well as how much XP you need to level up with whatever affinity you wish. Because my scale is pushed to the left here, or as far as being a raider, I need to slide it to the right to get to the middle to have maximum XP bonus. Therefore, I should level up as an antagonist to bring the scale down in this direction. Now, what they do not tell you outright is that it's a 4-to-1 ratio as far as adding to this Aequilibrium scale. For every one mission you run as a raider, you will move up 1% in this direction. Or even still, if you're over here and you're still moving towards you want to get towards the middle or over to a raider, you will move up 1%. But when you play as an antagonist, for each mission that you run, you will move. Not each mission you run, but every time you level up, you will move 4% towards being an antagonist. And if I apologize if I misspoke, like I said earlier, when you level up from one level to the next is when you move this 1% left or right, playing as a raider. When you level up, you will move 4% left or right. To the right, for being an antagonist. And like I said, 1% to the left for a raider, 4% to the right as an antagonist. I apologize if I'm mixing up my words here or confusing you. It's like I said, it's a bit to keep in mind, and it can be a bit rough to try to explain. So just one more time, when you level up as a raider, you will always move 1% to the left towards the raider. When you level up as an antagonist, you will always move 4% or 4 points towards being an antagonist. And this here will let you know how much XP you need to earn in order to level as a raider or as an antagonist with that type of affinity as they reference it. So when I level from 207 to 208, this will move from 17% to 21% XP because I have moved to the right 4% with as an antagonist. Now bear in mind, when you get into the dead center here at 40%, time is the other factor in affecting how this scale moves. So with me being over here on the left here as a raider, the more time I do not level up, the more this will fall towards 0%. Whether I'm offline or online, it will not matter. So let's just say this is at 40%, and while I'm playing, this slips to 39%. If I respect how much XP is necessary to level up as an antagonist, When I go to level up, I will be at 40% once this hits. When it turns to 39 before I level, because be honest with you, I've never seen it not slip. Well, I have, but it required the double XP bonus and really crackerjack teams to help me do that. But typically, this will slip 1% towards being a raider while you're on, on this side of the scale for this example. And within that time of to level up, earning all the XP requires to level up. It would typically slip to 39%, from 40 to 39%. When I level up, it will come back to 40%. It won't go to, you know, 38, 37%, or 36% or something like that, uh, because of the amount of, the weight of being an antagonist, that extra 4 to 1 that I spoke of. There's some extra middle ground here in that 40% leeway. Technically, like I said, if I was at 40% to begin with when I started this level, earning XP, by the time I got to level up again, it probably slipped to 39%. I earned enough XP to begin with to make sure I satisfied the affinity for the antagonist. Because if you level up with Raider affinity, then it won't work. Once you satisfy the affinity requirements for the antagonist or Raider, whichever, that's going to set you for what direction you're going to level. So if I require enough affinity for being an antagonist, it's going to set me, before I even finish leveling with the XP to get to the level. It's like I said, it's not going to push me past 40%. I'd have to do that. I'd have to level again before it slips to 39% to push it past 40. I have to work twice as hard in a way once you get into the middle to actually push it in the direction of being an antagonist. But once you have pushed it in the direction of being an antagonist, you're going to have to work 4 times as hard to get it back, because as you play as a raider, it's still only going to give you 1% towards this direction. So it's quite a hoof to almost uphill battle to get it back to the middle once you cross the line to be an antagonist. It's very difficult. But the way you can circumnavigate all this situation and maintain maximum XP bonus, whether you have your XP bonus super boost here or your regular boost here, if you want to maintain your 40% and you want to try, avoid the hours and hours of gameplay that it would cost to get you to back to center, either whether you're right or to the left, to the right or to the left of this middle bar here, you can create a space guild and leave a space guild to change your equilibrium balance, because your equilibrium balance is set by the people in your group in several ways. Number one is set by the people in your group within your space guild, and if you're not in a space guild, the game will randomly place you in a grouping of players that do not have space guilds. But within a space guild, if you have more players, their respect or disrespect, whatever, their balance within this equilibrium will be weighted against yours as well, and you will have an average of where you all fall. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. So within Space Guild, you go in, and so I have a guild set up right now, but I'm the only person in it. And I did that on purpose so that I can be the sole person affecting my equilibrium. Because when you're in a guild, your equilibrium is maintained by the players in the guild. When you're not in the guild, your equilibrium is maintained by the random players the game decides to want to just group you with. And that dictates, how much bonus you have. And your equilibrium can be affected as well by the players that you play with in a match if you're not in a space guild. So, by being in a space guild, you're not subject to the players' equilibrium that you play with, and are you subject to the equilibrium balance that the game randomly places you with when you're not in a match. So that's the reason why I created my own space guild. I called it Invictus. It's after a poem by William Ernest Hensley. It's very thought it suited the point of this game here. Um, you know, but space guilds. There's other videos out which can help explain that a little bit more, and the fact that you can um, create emblems for them and all kinds of other stuff. So it does require 5,000 gold to go ahead and create an emblem for your space guild. Um, but either way, it also too requires 5,000 gold to create a space guild. But bringing this back around to my point, you can avoid the hours and hours of grind of trying to balance your equilibrium at any point by creating a space guild, or if you're in one as I am, by leaving the space guild, disbanding the space guild. I hit yes. What's going to happen is it's going to throw me into a random grouping of other players in the game, and my equilibrium is based off of my gameplay and my gameplay, and their gameplay is going to let me know where my new equilibrium is going to lie. These are the latest events that you can recognize. These aren't all events that are taken into accord, I don't believe, as far as how your equilibrium is balanced. It may be, but I don't believe it is. Nonetheless, because it's going to, like I said, it's balancing everybody here with all the members, all these 16 members here. So now, like I said, so that changed my equilibrium, 19%. If I want, like I said, if I want to go ahead and bring it back to 40, what I would do is hit this, go to Space Guild, click on this here for Create Space Guild. It's going to say, do I want to spend 5,000 gold? I'll say yes for the purposes of this video. It asks you to title it. I'll go ahead and choose what I had last time. Let's see. So Invictus, and what the game will do is place your equilibrium dead center in the middle once again. So now I have, for the cost of 5,000 gold, 40% XP boost to all my missions. Like I said, but this will begin to slip as time goes on to 39%, and the game wants to push you in the direction of being a raider if you're dead center in the middle. It's not until you really you yourself push it towards being an antagonist that it tends to fall towards the antagonist reduction of the XP bonus. But the further you move in either direction, this bonus will decrease. So that's the way you can affect your equilibrium. Those are the factors that affect your equilibrium. There's nothing else that affects your equilibrium. And how well you do in a mission does not affect your equilibrium. Your MMR does not affect your equilibrium. If you're, only the people in your space guild affect your equilibrium, or you yourself, if you're in a space guild by yourself, affect your equilibrium. If you're not in a space guild, then the random group that the game puts you in affects your equilibrium, as well as when you play various different missions with other players, it can affect your equilibrium. If you're not in a space guild. So like I said, and also too here, like they will let you know clearly how much XP you need to level up with whichever type of affinity that is required. It will say to you, okay, you need to have X amount of XP for a raider, or X amount of XP as an antagonist. Here I've satisfied the antagonist requirements, and it's best to regard the point that excuse me, it's always less affinity points, less XP you need to earn to level up with antagonist affinity than it requires with raider affinity. So when I level up, it might be 1,000 affinity for an antagonist to level up, 1,000 XP to level up with an antagonist affinity, versus 6,000 XP to level up with Raider Affinity. So if I want to continue to level as an antagonist, before I turn over this next level, when I get near here, like right now, I need 1,253 XP to level up. Well, based off of my experience with the game, I know I'm going to earn more than that to level up. And because of that, I could potentially earn enough XP as an antagonist now, before I level up, to satisfy the next level's requirement for antagonist XP. So if I wanted, so I have to keep in mind, if I'm trying to respect this equilibrium here, okay, how much this is going to push this bar to the right if I'm leveling as an antagonist, and how fast this decreases to the left. So just read this for a second here. Oh man, I apologize. Had a delivery at the door there. So yes, so like I said, after reviewing that, keep all this in mind. When you are leveling up, you have to respect how many points you will gain as you level, playing as a raider or an antagonist, if you want to keep this balanced. Because you can earn enough XP playing as an antagonist. If I chose my next mission as an antagonist, I can earn enough XP to satisfy the next level's requirement to be an antagonist, which would probably push this 40%, if I earned it right now, into the direction of being an antagonist, more than likely. Because there hasn't been much time since I queued this up and landed on 40%, because I created my own space guild. You know, if maybe after another hour from now, if if I went, haven't played, I turned the game off or whatever, I turned it back on, if that slipped to 39%, because like I said, it's going to want to slide towards the left as time goes on, because I have not leveled, then, when I play as an antagonist, it'll bring me back to 40. But if I was to level up right now as an antagonist in the next mission, most likely I'll earn enough XP for it to push me into being an antagonist. And this would go from 40% to 36%. You would then have to do 4 times as much gameplay as a raider to bring it back to the middle, unless you decided to want to quit out the space guild that you created on your own, like I've done here, and recreate one. Other ways you can affect your equilibrium too is you can join other people's space guilds to, what they call blueprint hopping. They'll go ahead and they'll so I'll disband this space guild and I'll show you what I'm talking about, because that's another element of progression in regard to blueprint hopping, blueprint chasing rather, is that you can go ahead and affect your equilibrium, as well as what missions are available to you by searching for other types of guilds to join and that are open to the public to join. And so once you go ahead and you join them, your equilibrium will adjust accordingly to however many people are in the guild, and how they're respecting or not respecting the equilibrium, just how they're balancing their gameplay. which will also to affect your rewards here on the board. Right now, the board shows what my rewards were prior to when I was in my own space guild, but that's misleading because this board has not reset. Now, if I when I play another mission and come back out, you'll see actually what my rewards are. Or if I log out and log back in the game, that's when you can actually see what your rewards are, and then you can select your mission. But a lot of times, if you've already tried for a particular blueprint, didn't and you got it when you already had it, or you want to get another blueprint for another character, it's best to go ahead and instead of waiting for your time limit for all this to refresh and the odds of whether or not you'll get a reward or not, it's always a game of chances. You can go ahead and join a different space guild because more than likely each they have a different set of rewards associated with their board. Not all the time, but a good percentage of the time, each space guild, you know, is kind of basically queued to whoever created the space guild and what their refresh to their situation is. Um, they will have a different reward pool for you within these missions. So like I said, you can once you've exhausted the point and got the blueprint for a character, for example, and you want to get another blueprint of a particular type for another character, you can go ahead and guild hop to those guilds that are open to you to join to get them. And of course, bear in mind your Equilibrium is going to adjust along with that, so you'll probably be missing out on whatever XP bonus you could have had if you were at 40%. But again, it's a matter of focus. If your focus is blueprints at that point, then that's what you sacrifice it for. But again, bear in mind, and like I said, I'll show you again. It's all good. You can just go ahead and create your own space guild whenever you want, and it will have you'll be able to get your 40% back, but bear in mind it's going to cost you 5,000 gold to do so. That's basically a way of getting a cheap version of an XP boost versus the actual boosters that you can purchase here. So like I said, this Equilibrium thing is a very interesting point of the game to try to maximize how much XP you can earn, but you have to take care with where you are on this Equilibrium bar, especially when you get to this 40% thing, and when you get to near the end of leveling to near the end of the XP you need to earn within that level to level up. If you want to maintain this balance, you just have to respect how much XP you seem to be earning per match, whether you win or lose, and keep an eye on how much XP they're asking for you to earn for being a raider or for an antagonist affinity, and say to yourself, okay, well, the next mission, do I want before I level up, do I want to run that as a raider, or do I want to run that as an antagonist? And the earlier you can plan ahead of that situation, the better. But the there are ways to deal with it, and there's ways not to deal with it. If you don't want to deal with it at all, it's believe me, I can respect not dealing with the headache. It is a bit much to deal with. It takes some time, and trust me, if you don't use the 5,000 gold to sort of reset yourself here, if you slip left or right of the situation, it's quite a grueling task to just grind it out manually, so to speak, without sort of cheating the system by creating your own guild. But to me, that's one of the fastest ways is to level up and to progress through this game, is to keep your Equilibrium balanced at 40% by creating your own guild. In times when you want to chase down blueprints, just guild hop and then get back in your own guild, and just realize that 5,000 gold doesn't really take much to earn. Generally within 2 to 3 missions you can go ahead and grab that, and maybe even sooner depending on what the mission payout is. If they have like this one here gets very high gold, and if I was to run that mission with, say, a character where I've converted the weapon to like this one here, where I'm earning 26% more gold, as well as faction points, because of how I've decided to allot the points here. And you can, then, that will be added to it. So, there's been times where definitely I can run out of a mission close to 5,000. Or I don't know if I've seen more than that. I've definitely seen in the mid to high 4,000 gold for a mission, with something like that. And so, very quickly you'll have your return on that investment of, if your XP is your focus, so, um, good luck to you all on trying to work it all out. If you, like I said, if trying to maintain this Acumen balance isn't your bag, I can definitely respect the point, because it does require you to play as an antagonist, in these missions, to do so. And there are a lot of different ways you can play as an antagonist, um, within the game. You can be an aggressive antagonist, you can be a passive antagonist, you can let players win. You know, I'm going to cover that antagonist issue in the next video here, when we deal with the MMR and the difficulty of the game, um, and the various different ways you can affect that. But there's a lot of different ways you can play as an antagonist. Depending on your viewpoint of the situation, your morality you want to employ with the game or not. So don't limit yourself by what the game sort of presents to you as what an antagonist should be or should not be, and how and whether you win or lose. Trust me, it's not going to matter much at the end of the day, to a degree. Now, of course, winning will give you more XP, of course. But winning all the time, will definitely increase your MMR, which is your difficulty. Okay, so playing as an antagonist and winning always as an antagonist may not be to your best benefit. Because losing as an antagonist will bring your MMR down while still maintaining an XP flow. If you keep your 40% Equilibrium and add in an XP bonus during the times when you play as an antagonist and say lose, to keep your MMR, your difficulty setting, tolerable while you level, okay, you'll still be on a good progression of XP, with despite the fact that you're not, you're not playing to win. And you can also too engage your opponents while being an antagonist and still let them win, because engaging your opponents, the people who are playing as a raider while you're playing as an antagonist, will, give you more XP at the end of the mission. Okay, so, and basically you kind of, you'd aggress upon them, but basically you wouldn't threaten their position to win the game. So if they're down and low in their lives, don't respond. It's a good way to work it, so that they, don't lose. If you start killing them and they're only down to 3 lives, you might want to stop, so you don't put too much pressure on them, so that at least they lose 3 lives, and then they're down to their last lives. They have some leeway to play with. It's just don't limit yourself to the point. There's just ways you can earn XP and still be either an aggressive or passive or friendly antagonist, bottom line. So just apply yourself, keep it cool, realize that if you are going to be a friendly antagonist, if you jump up and down repeatedly in one spot without attacking other players, they the community at large respects this. Not everybody understands it, not everybody knows it, but the community at large respects the point. And you can demonstrate the point to them. But again, like I said, there's a lot of ways you can go about all this. And to me, I began playing the game without thinking to want to be an antagonist at all, but then understanding what was going on here with earning XP and getting and progressing through the game to get to the necessary milestones, which seem to be level 199 and level 200 to actually obtain your maximum forward skill and all of your character cards, as well as your maximum passives. I gave into the antagonist situation, and played it out, as best as I felt, I could, and because I don't think people are playing this game to lose, and adding an antagonist to the mix of any match is always a random chance as to whether you're going to have one or not. Now, it does give you more XP and can give you more gold having an antagonist, but more often than not, it's not worth the loss of XP, the loss of blueprints, the loss of all sorts of things, time, effort, what have you, for an antagonist to win. Um, so, and it's not always in the antagonist's favor per se, because the game does adjust itself. But again, I'll talk about that in the next video, as far as the difficulty and the antagonist and what have you. But yeah, so like I said, progression and Aequilibrium, there you have it. As best as I can explain it. Hopefully I haven't overdone the point, and I apologize if you may feel as though I have. But again, it's to help preserve the memory for myself, and hopefully others will benefit as well. And again, thank you for viewing, and take care, and I'll see you all shortly in the next video about the MMR and the difficulty of this game. All right, peace.